Thank you for staying with us on the program. We've been talking about the 54th independence anniversary of the nation. What is there to be happy about, and what is the way forward in our national life? Well, my guest and I, we shall be looking at these issues, and also you can be a part of the program. But let me start with my guests. They were very much around on that day, the 1st of October. I'm very sure of that, both of my guests, and it's strategic bringing both of you from the different divides of the country. Tell me, what was it like on that particular day? Let's open this conversation with that nostalgia, with I call it, a kind of bringing back the memories of what we experienced. My father, I remember, would tell me that he was on the streets flying the flag of the nation. I wasn't around. Tell us, what was it like then?
Well, Sean, that's quite a long time now. I think I was just 6, 7 years old, 1960. Started school in 1959, and all I can remember is where we had flags, and then we had some food to eat in school, and everybody was happy. You know, one was still very young, about 6 or 7 years old, and the atmosphere was quite infectious. Everybody was excited. You know, oh, independence.
Of course, I know by that time you'll be thinking independence, maybe a moment that will bring about an El Dorado sort of.
Well, you know, at that age, we were not really, because we didn't really have issues. As a child, you were not, then, it was like there was abundance in the land, and we didn't have any issues with ourselves. So you were just reacting to the mood of the nation at that point in time. And of course, as pupils in school, then in primary 2 or so, nothing much for us except the excitement, and we had a lot to eat. We had, you know, the parties, children's party and all that. That was all one could remember, you know.
And if you look back now, you will say, in a breath, if you describe, summarize what the experience of the nation. It's been a long journey.
A long journey. It's a long journey, and it's not been too good in terms of expectations. And you're growing up, and there's the things one enjoyed at school. I mean, getting to secondary school, even getting to the university, the things that we enjoyed then, you cannot compare them to what the realities on ground are now.
All right, interesting. Let me, Chief Uwazuruike, of course, I know, what was your experiences like? And tell me, at that time, the expectations were there. Have they been met?
Well, I have no memory of the independence at all. It's not even possible. The only thing I can tell you is that as I was growing up, we were celebrating October 1 every year from primary school. We go with our flags, go and march. As for the independence day itself, it's not possible for me. Then, over the years, the politicians will come and talk, and they'll remind us how they fought for us. And of course, all kinds of myths were on. Like they told us, Zeke had the key to the Barbich and the River Niger. He swallowed it. If you annoy him, he'll bring out the key and everybody will vanish. Those were the popular things. Then as young people, they will also watch women dancing and singing about Nigerian independence, eulogizing our leaders. But then, with the war, there was a definite break. Issues were no longer what happened on October 1, 1960. Issues were more of survival, the military regime, then what next? And over time, we began to see a kind of downplaying of the importance of October 1, 1960. Except for Jonathan, who came and then brought in 50 years of independence, 100 years of nationhood. Virtually all the others were not interested. May 29 became more important for them than October 1. Then for all pupils in the primary schools, in particular secondary schools, May 27 was also more important. But in my primary school, there's one of things I remember, some young soldiers. They were marching up and down. That's what I can remember. But I don't think they do that anymore on October 1. Or in any case, we don't even celebrate October 1 anymore. We just sit there and listen to the broadcast, watch on TV as some state governors who try to do military parade, and then the president will sit in his place and do his own. But as for the nation, the expectation of October 1 is a day of nostalgia, a day you will look back and think of what was and what is now, and then ask ourselves, where have we gone wrong? But I don't think that question is being asked in great details now.
Interesting. A journey of 54 years. At some point, if you have traveled this long and this far, are we close to our destination at all as a nation?
I will ask, are we on the road?
Or are we on the right path?
I think we're on the right path.
Really?
Yes. Let me put it this way. Nigeria is still one. The entity called Nigeria got independent in 1960 still together. Yes, there have been skirmishes here and there, but we still answer one country. Nobody has given us any other name. Secondly, the road from independence is actually a road that can either lead you to damnation or to lead you to more progress. Some countries have given up their own. We used to have a country called Yugoslavia, among others. Today, what is happening between Russia and these former neighbors, Ukraine, and so on, we know. But in Nigeria, there has been no attempt to retake this country. In other words, those who granted us independence are not making an attempt to come back. Instead,
would they have been successful if they wanted?
Well, it's possible. All you have to do is organize a military coup and then invite them.
No, we've seen so many military coups afterwards.
Yes. In Eastern Europe, remember the kind of thing going on. It's actually, I believe, it's Russia engineering some of those things. America, if it has a chance, will also do the same thing. But Britain cannot do that in Nigeria because the fierceness of our independent feeling is much higher. As it is today, Britain cannot even have a defense pact with Nigeria.
Would you say that, let me come to Senator Mamora, would you say that we were ready as a nation for independence? I know at the parliament then, the likes of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, a lot of the nationalists that were asking for independence. Some people on the outside were saying, we weren't really ready for independence at that time. Were we ready?
Well, to the best of my knowledge and what I could recall, as at the time we did, not all the parts of this country were ready. Some part of the country, you know, yes, a part was ready, a part was not ready. So there was this, there was no unanimity of purpose as to the readiness.
Did that affect us, or has that affected us in any way?
Definitely.
How?
Oh well, I mean, it's like you have a baby delivered prematurely, and another one delivered prematurely. Of course, definitely, the pattern of growth will be different.
So maybe that's the disparity we see in a lot of national activities that we've seen so far. Would you say that the regions of the country have grown at par? Would you say the growth has been...
Definitely not. You see, if you look at what happened even at independence, we had regional structures. And then, of course, but that was the closest we had to federalism. And each region was growing at its own pace. But somehow, somewhere along the line, particularly with the military intervention, that differential growth, was a kind of, aborted. And you now had the command structure, wanting every part to grow at the same time, which is, of course, is impossible.
Let me also ask you, some people have said that the military were a major problem in our national life. Do you subscribe to such opinion?
Well, I subscribe to it largely, but not absolutely. You see, because if you look at, okay, we're celebrating 54 years of independence. And out of the 54 years, how many years were the military in control?
It's about two over four of to cut off our life as a nation?
It's about 2/3 of the period. I mean, definitely, majority of those years that we're looking at were under the control of the military. So that will definitely affect the psyche of the people. But I'm saying that, look, since 1999, we have had, this is the 16th year of uninterrupted civil rule. And yes, it may be a small period in the life of a nation, talking about 16 years. But if we were serious, if we were sincere with ourselves, we should not be where we are today. That's my own position.
Do you agree with Senator Mamora?
Yes, of course, the military stunted our growth. No doubt about it. Now, if you look at the military from 1966 up to 79, who were there? Just a group of officers. The only thing they had above us that they had some weapons. They were made governors.
And these are young boys at that time.
Inexperienced who also think they knew too much.
Unmarried men, some of them at that time.
And they arrogated to themselves all kinds of knowledge. Now, if you go back to the end of Shagari's government, of course, when Buhari came with the Diabo, they didn't have that sensitivity about national development. Their own direction was different. So for the 1.5 years Buhari was in power, it was discipline, corruption, but nothing like progress. Now, Babangida came, did his own Maradona style. It was, they're planning a coup against me, I'm planning against them, oh, I'm fighting this person. Nothing like national and conscious development. Of course, you know who Abacha was. He was the ultimate man. But you must give credit to that man called Abdulsalam Abubakar. He had a vision, he had a foresight of where he wanted to go. And he kept to it. What if he had alluded to the reasons given to him by his men not to hand over?
But I remember you've told me that General Abdulsalami Abubakar hurriedly left office without preparing the grounds on which our return to democracy should stay.
Well, let me reply you by saying Uwazuruike once said Obasanjo's government was actually a transition. See, the best thing that happened to this country was Abdulsalami Abubakar shunned the suggestions of his colleagues.
To stay in
There is no way
to keep
any
the military men in power.
There's no way any government can actually prepare, a military government can prepare us for civilians. It's not possible. It is not in them. Now, if you move down to Obasanjo, you don't notice that Obasanjo was a kind of military government. I order you, he didn't understand why the governor of Lagos would be different, in his opinion. It is almighty president. And that problem is still in us. Because when Yar'Adua came as a civilian, of course, Jonathan will also, if it were Obasanjo, he will tell you this, he will do this. He will get impeached, he will get a Ribadu will impeach you. Those are military tactics, war. Remember in the military, if you don't have a clear enemy, you create one. That's why in a civilian, when there is no war, all those civilians around the military become enemies. So Obasanjo had an enemy non-stop. But not so Jonathan. Not so the late Yar'Adua. So those who were civilians who saw things differently. And I still believe that civilians can never be military and military can never be civilians.
Interesting. Interesting. All right. We hope that we'll be able to give you some excerpts of the President Jonathan's Independence Day speech. And my guests here are up to the task. We'll be breaking it down. First of all, let's get to the issue where the President talked about the issue on confab. Well, it's an issue that a lot of Nigerians believe this would be perhaps a solution to some of our major problem. So the President actually talked about it, and here is what he said on that particular matter.